All right, Jamie, back at it, my friend.
This
Good
is
to
fun.
see
Likewise.
you. Yeah.
Did you get your sunscreen off? Sorry.
I know. Oh, just a little bit. But we were talking about coming into this podcast. I was at the golf. I was playing golf in Greenville. There's a place called the Threes. And so we go out there once a week or try to with business owners or business advisors in the area. And the topic today was a level 10 meeting. So I thought it was very let's just keep the conversation going with you and I and just kind of dive in.
Yeah, I think this is a thing that sometimes you'll be talking to someone and they're like, I think I've heard of this EOS. I think my company does it. But and then you say L10 meetings. They're like, oh, yeah, we do those. I've heard of those.
Yes.
But the more common thing is what is an L10 meeting? And I think I just like to say it's a meeting with an agenda that starts on time, ends on time, solves 3 issues. You could do that well. Mm-hmm. That's what an L10 meeting is.
100%. And you think about the level 10 meeting, I think there's value to understand why it's called a level 10 meeting and just how it fits into EOS in the 90-day world a little bit larger as well. So I'm going to actually back up a little bit and talk about the meeting pulse because that truly is where the L10 meeting fits in. And the meeting pulse is one of the 5 foundational tools, which is 80% of the work of running an EOS. And so the meeting pulse really is 3 elements. First, it's the annual planning. So we're going to do annual planning where we're going to recreate the VTO. We're going to build an entire annual plan, and we're going to build Q1. From there, we will then break out our annual plans into quarterly planning. So every 90 days, we'll look at how do we do last quarter and set priorities for the next 90 days, which are our rocks. But then in order to ensure that we are working on our quarterly plans, we instigate this or we implement a weekly checkpoint for accountability, but also a place to uncover issues that are standing in our way and solve them. So that is what is coined the level 10 meeting. Yeah. And the level 10 comes from that when you ask team members of what's the rating of internal meetings on a scale of 1 to 10, typically it's a 2 or 3. And so this is our pursuit of how do we go from a level 2 or 3 to a level 10 in every single internal meeting.
Yeah, I think that it does become, it's the heartbeat of the cadence of a company that runs on EOS. And once you get the groove and people get into the rhythm, it really does establish a cadence that fits and feels right. And then when you don't have it, you actually start feeling that, oh, wow, I missed that rhythm or I'm out of sync. And that just regular weekly cadence with the ideas going through the week. If I've got an issue, what do I do with it? Something came up, you have a place for it. And then you step into those meetings and the first thing you start with is the Segue, which is, I always call it the Segue. It's a funny looking word, but it's like, you're
fragile.
Yes, fragile. but just the fact that it starts off with a Segue really changes the intent and sets the tone difference. So how do you, how do you make for a great Segue?
100%. So I think even just to step back a little bit more before we just jump into the Segue, truly, when we're running this L10, you talked about it being the heartbeat, it really becomes the calm and the chaos where the day-to-day and no matter what's happening in the world or in the business or any of these things, it's the one thing that we can always rely on, that we have dedicated time to get everybody in the room and realign and then have marching orders for the next week and go back out. Yeah. So my plea in this whole thing is to just always have them. Don't skip them because we're busy. Don't skip them because some major event. That's the value, is the consistency. And it starts with having it at the same time, right? Same day of the week, the same time. We start on time, end on time. And that becomes our heartbeat in that cadence of what we were talking about. And why it becomes so valuable is because in the beginning, as you're learning it, you kind of have to fight for it. How do I get this thing going? And I got to think all the time and try to get this into place. And how is it valuable? But once it gets going, you're gonna miss it if you skip one. Like it becomes that point. And it's because when you talk about the value of the segue and like how do you segue appropriately, the reason you need to segue is because probably the one time during the week where you actually are in a strategic mindset.
Yep.
Everything else is more tactical. Everything else is more reactionary.
Yeah, it's that. This is the idea of working on the business and working in it. We're working, in 40 hours, we're working 38 and a half, right?
100%.
So we've got this hour and a half, 90 minutes every week where we work on the business instead of just in it.
Yeah.
And everybody knows how to participate and there's a flow and it does just create that rhythm. And the two reasons why you miss an L10 are?
Oh, because you're on vacation.
You're on vacation.
And the second one is because there's a death.
Yeah.
Which is your death.
Yeah.
So like if you have time away, take time away. But
Yeah.
everything else is like you got to be there.
Yeah.
It's not because an important client meeting comes up, any of those things.
But
You
it's
need
the
to
only
schedule
time the
around
client can meet, Andrew.
No, that's not true. I beg to differ. Beg to differ. So let's break it down a little bit. I think it's important, just real quick. I think all of us should know what the structure is, but just to run through it, it's 90 minutes, and we run it with the clock, and there's agenda items. The agendas never change, so it starts with 5 minutes of segue, which we just run around the table. What's one business and one personal best that happened over the last week? Because we do this meeting weekly.
Yep.
Right. We then jump into scorecard review. So we run through our company scorecard and what's on track, what's off track. If something's off track, we drop it down to the issues list. From there, we go to rock review. Are our rocks on track? Are our rocks off track, which are our 90-day priorities? If they're off track, or there's something that we need to uncover or share, we drop that down to the issues list. From there, we go into customer employee headlines. So anything happened from a customer perspective or an employee's perspective that this team needs to know about, we put that on the list. If there's more discussion needed or we need to solve for something, we add it to the issues list. So that first 15 to 20 minutes is just pure reporting. It's getting everything out, starting to build our issues list. From there, we then go to to-dos, which is the to-dos from last week, and did we get them done? Week to week, we should be completing 90%. Then we get into the heart of the meeting, which is IDS, or Identify, Discuss, Solve. We call that the issue solving track, where we have populated from the first part of the meeting, but also anything that's kind of come up through the week. We then ask ourselves, hey, what's the most important thing we need to solve today for the next week ahead? We get all that items on the list. We prioritize. We work through. 5 minutes to the close of that meeting, we move to conclude. In the conclusion state, we do a to-do recap. So any to-dos that we created, we recap them, make sure we're all on the same page. From there, we go to cascading messages. So anything that we decided in this meeting, does another team or anybody else need to know about? And we take a to-do to cascade that message. And then we rate the meeting 1 to 10. How did we do? And we're constantly chasing after level 10. That's what makes a great meeting.
So I'm /creative/visionary.
Yes.
And process is not my jam.
Mm-hmm.
I've started out in L10 meetings. These seem bureaucratic. Like we're just checking a list. Like how is it? Explain to me how this is not heavy, burdensome bureaucracy with a structured agenda.
Yes. So we've talked about this in the past that like these foundations of like how we do a meeting are it's the size of the field that we play in. But how you play the game, that's the issues list. You get to decide what the topics are that we talk about by what you prioritize in the issues list. So that's one. The other piece of this is that it's an opportunity to put yourself in a perspective of seeing the complete picture. So many times we make decisions in a silo, but in a level 10 meeting, when you get a chance to run through the scorecard, which is the day-to-day activities, are they on track or not? run through the rocks, which are, here's the things that we are focused on in the next 90 days to better our position. If you just start with those, your mind is in a better position to then solve issues.
Yeah.
And it's just a pure reporting, and then really the issues list is really the heart and the meat of the issue on what it is.
Yeah, and I obviously tongue in cheek, I love L10 meetings, but it took me a while, as not a process guy, to find the rhythm, and probably a quarter, right? You start rolling these out and you get into them and you got a rhythm going, you're going through the mechanics, and at times the issues may seem more like project in nature versus big picture, and all that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's getting the mechanics down, and that it really is traction. It's like your L10s are where you start feeling that momentum, because you are looking at metrics weekly.
100%.
You are looking at your priorities weekly. We're holding each other accountable to, are we hitting our metrics? Are we getting the priorities done this quarter?
Yeah.
And in that, I think my favorite part of it is, when done right, it just sucks the drama out of the business, right? It's everybody has a place every week to park something, to surface it, to be visible, and to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the greatest benefits of the heartbeat and the rhythm, is you don't know, things shouldn't fester. You don't have to sit around and think about, like, God, I just wish we could fix this, or that sales process, or this thing's repeatedly over and over again.
100%. And an issue is just an issue.
Yeah.
So you talked about it sucks the drama out. That's how it's not bureaucratic, is because it actually pulls all emotion out. It pulls all bureaucracy out of it, because the issue is just an issue.
Yeah.
And we as a team need to solve this. And the other question I would ask you about, I don't know if this is right, or these items, is like, what's the rating of your internal meetings today? And I don't want to just ask you. I want to ask the team that you are in the meeting with.
Yeah.
Because your perspective may be, I run a great meeting.
Yeah.
But a meeting is a team sport, right?
Yeah,
so like, what is everybody's perspective of that meeting? And what is the rating? If it's a 10 and everybody says it's a 10, then just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But this is a tried and true way to ensure that we can get our internal meetings into a 10.
Yeah. And then, so that we talk about Segue, and then going into scorecards.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that section of it look like? How do we report on metrics?
Yeah. Let's, I think you asked a question earlier about like the Segue aspect of it. So let's just run through, if it makes sense. So like the Segue, when you go, the value of the Segue is really a few items. One is that when you are coming into the meeting, you're coming from a past meeting, from an issue that you're dealing with, something really tactical, and you need to transition your mindset into this strategic meeting. And so the Segue gives you a minute to do that. The other item that it does is it starts to strengthen the team health of the team in our room. You'd be amazed at how many teams out there don't know what's going on in their individual personal lives. Anything to celebrate, or even celebrate in their perspective of the business. So it strengthens team health, because we get a chance to celebrate together. So like you start in this place of like this elevated state and this elevated energy. Then we start looking at the details, which is the scorecard. And the scorecard is built from the team that is in that L10. So you're going to have a leadership L10, which is comprised of all the major functions, a seat of all the major functions in the business, an integrator and a visionary. Each seat is reporting certain measurables that are leading, action-oriented, maybe some outcome-based measurables, but there's never more than 15 on a team scorecard. And you're reporting it weekly. So you go around the table of, you're sitting in the marketing seat, you're reporting things like leads and MQLs and events coming up. Sales is reporting things like conversion rates and new proposals sent, and are we going to hit our forecasts, right? So it gets this point of accountability really quickly.
And when one of those comes up and it's off track,
I
mean, the purist does what?
Yeah. The purist drops it down to the issues list.
Just drop it down.
Rather than discussing it there. Because if we discuss it there, we're going to run in circles chasing stuff that actually may not be that important. And we're going to waste our time. And so a portion of that is we have to have goals towards those measurables so you know when it's off track. So we have weekly goals. And there's little rules of thumb. If it's off track 3 weeks in a row, it's automatically dropped down below. If it's off track for more than 6 months, or not even that, probably go 6 weeks, the goal's wrong, and we need to relook at them, right? Some of those items of what that is. But the scorecard is an answer to issues too, because sometimes issues come up and you don't know what to do with it, but hey, we can track it. So throw it on the scorecard.
And then what about that time when it's like, hey, we need to measure this?
Yeah.
And we can't. What do you do then?
Is it important enough to measure?
Yeah, it is a metric, but we just don't have a process to it. How do we find the data?
Yeah. I think it depends on the importance of the value of that measurable. And if we say it's that important, it either becomes a to-do or a future rock to get that data to be able to report.
Yeah, I like that when you in looking at a metric, it's like, well, that's the right metric. We just don't have the processes. So then the drops down to the issue list. Can it be solved in a week? Let's take it as a to-do, or that's actually, we got to build a system to get to that. We got to change processes. 100%. That's now a rock to say like, hey, let's make sure we have a future rock to make sure that this important metric is something we can monitor weekly.
100%. And the purist in me says that's a measurable.
Yeah.
Not a metric.
Yes.
So words matter, right? So a measurable is something that somebody is reporting into a scorecard in an L10.
Yep.
A metric may be something that's on some dashboard over here.
Gotcha. Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if we use the right terminology, we know where that thing lives and what the value of it is. But so that's the scorecard. And then you go down to the rock, right? Rock review. And the rock review is really checking in on our 90-day priorities. And here's a place where I see teams get this wrong, is that they'll just say on track or off track, add it to the issues list. But there's so much more when we're actually working on our rocks. If we say that these are the most important things that we put energy towards during the quarter, a lot of our issues list should be driven from the action taken working on the rock.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what that should truly look like is if I'm in an L10 with a team and each person, say, has one rock they're working on, I don't need a full update of what the work you did. However, I would expect hey, I'm on track and I'll have something I want to share with you in 2 weeks from now. Or, hey, I'm on track, but I did uncover something that's important for this team to know. Throw an issue out there for me. Or you report your rock and say, I'm on track, and I say, I haven't seen anything for a while. I can kind of call you out and say, hey, can you give us an update? Let's throw it on the issues list. Yeah. I just want to see where we're at with that to make sure we're going to hit our deadlines. So there's a little bit more accountability and work during that section, not of discussing it during that section, but identifying what needs to be added to the issues list.
And I think we try to be specific on how we title our rocks to know what the end goal is. Like, what's the outcome of this? Because sometimes it's investigate, right? Sometimes it's like, hey, get a strategy for. Sometimes it's like, we got to roll it out to the team. Sometimes you can do all those in a quarter. Sometimes you can.
100%.
But making sure that it's named correct.
Yes.
And then the most critical thing that I'd say in my 7 years almost of EOS that I've only gotten good at in the past 2 quarters. Which, hey, we had our quarterly this past week.
That's because you had an amazing implementer.
How did I do all my rocks?
100%. 100%.
Oh, green, baby. But part of that goes to I leave the session and I'm actually doing my milestones. So we use 90. Yes. Shout out to 90 and Cam Lawson. So I go in, I define my rock well, and then I put my milestones in.
Yes.
And I think we're now much more in the habit of like, it's on track. And it's like, click on that and open up the milestones. It's like, is it really like,
right? It
was on track last week for the last same milestone and it hasn't moved, right?
100%.
So making sure you have due dates. And then we've actually now set our due date as not due, but has been reviewed by the team.
Yes.
Otherwise, you just get up, you finish them, and no one ever shows them to anybody.
100%.
So I think
when you want to get away from the on track. Oh, we're 2 weeks to due date. Mine's off track.
yes, yes,
It's like, wait. So I think what you said there is talked about the milestones, and using a system helps with that. But actually what you did was you took time and understood your rock and dissected what needed to be done.
yeah,
And so that's really what needs to be done. And so I'll always tell my teams, like, you set your rocks for the quarter. You're then going to start executing your L10s. Between the rock setting and your next L10, your clarity break should be breaking down your rocks, internalizing them, what needs to get done, writing those milestones, just scheduling things out to be able to come in to the next L10 with your arms around what you're responsible for that team for the next 90 days.
Yeah, and I think, coming from writing a scope of work or proposals, I'm always like, this is the end.
Yes.
Let me get 4 to 6 steps that I can break down, put the dates on them, and then just keep it on track.
100%. And that's the getting what you want tool in EOS, which is by far the most underutilized tool, which is the idea of having an outcome and then breaking that down. What steps need to happen? What happens before that, and then before that, then before that, and then you can kind of write that out that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could sit here and talk about that forever, about doing that correctly, or just different tips. But so then we have that rocks. Then from rocks, we go down to customer and employee headlines.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love this because it's the opportunity when you get multiple L10s to, cascade across and let people know what's going on who may not be involved in, all clients or all employees necessarily. But I do encourage people everyone should bring one in. Sometimes it is like, well, I don't engage with clients. I don't have any client updates. It's like, well, but we all engage with employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think being intentional to use that section well is another opportunity, like Segue, to get people connected and know what's going on.
Yes. And there's a few tricks too. So one is like when you start getting your core values rolled out, use the customer employee headlines to do core value call outs.
Yep.
So who from your team, or not even from your team, just what you've witnessed, somebody that you want to give a kudos to for a core value, that's a great place to put it. Call out like important vacations coming up for team members, right?
Multiple people out this week.
Multiple people out, whatever that may be. Anything from a customer perspective, a project we delivered and we nailed it out of the park and they wrote us a glowing review, or we had this obstacle or this issue with this client, this is how we handled it, just an FYI to this team.
And then hiring updates, like, hey, we're going to be posting this job, or we've interviewed these 2 or 3 people, just let everybody know, because not everybody is involved with every hire.
Right.
But letting everybody just know what's going on in those
100%,
those updates.
100%. And they're written like a newspaper headline.
Yeah.
And then if there's any discussion that's needed, or you just drop it down and add it to the issues list. Yeah,
I'm guilty of getting it all out. And they're like, thank you for the article, Jamie.
Like, it's not a headline. That
wasn't a headline.
It's the whole article.
Yes, actually, you just read me today's newspaper. So,
yes.
Brevity is key.
Brevity is key. And that is, the teams and the individuals that are really effective, they can own and they work on the executive skill of brevity.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that if the team needs more information, they will ask me questions. But if I can focus on brevity, it enhances that skill for sure.
And this is an observation, so don't extrapolate it out to be true everywhere. But I have seen in these first 3 sections, the Segue, the Scorecard, the rocks, the team 4 sections, and the customer employee headlines, before you get to issues, that is where I've seen the warning signs of someone who's not going to buy into EOS.
Yes.
Because there's a heavy accountability, right? There's heavy, just expectations are very clear. And that the handful of people that I've experienced who didn't work out in an EOS organization, I would say that's where that started to surface in my experiences.
Yeah. It's all points of accountability.
Yeah.
Is really where it is.
Yes.
So there's that point of accountability in level 10. There's the rocks and the quarterly of like, did it get done or not? Like the pure black or white. There's no gray in this. It either got completed to the point we said it was or not. Yeah. Like that's another place where you can see it. And then the other place is once their department starts using the tools and rolling it out, you'll see that breakdown there as well. It's really any points of accountability, but that's a good call.
And I think vulnerability goes into that too. I think, and that those, you have to, if you're off track, you have to be willing to be accountable to that, but also be vulnerable and say like, hey, I'm off track. I need help with this. Or, just drop it down to an issue and then get the team's help on it.
100%.
But I think, there's the segue, the personal part. I just have seen that a few times. But I like that. I like that accountability is making people realize they're not on the right bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or making us realize that the person is not on the right
bus. It's a good point when you talk about the segue that you'll see that breakdown and maybe they're not into this. And I actually don't know if it's a commitment to EOS or it's actually commitment to the team and the company.
Okay.
That like it is, and they'll probably fight against that comment. I'll probably get some naysayers against that comment. But in my experience, if somebody isn't willing to be vulnerable and come up with something, or they're like, oh, everything's good. I can't think of anything. Like, come on. I'll if I'm running the L10, I'm going to call people out. Like, come on, you can't think of one good thing that happened in your world.
Yeah.
Just one all week.
Are your lungs breathing?
Are you like, what did, right. Or even in your apartment, like what happened last week? Nothing, nothing good happened all week in your discipline. Right? Yeah. So it's a good call out. But so now we've used those agenda items to build a really healthy issues list, along with things that have come up throughout the week. So what this looks like at scale is when we're running these meetings, that issues list is living and breathing outside of the level 10, which means if you bring something to me and it really, this is where breakdown occurs in a lot of organizations where you solve things in silos rather than seeing everybody see the solution and everybody work through this solution together. And so instead of these little one-off meetings and one-off solutions that happen, we need to bring those items and add them to the issues list throughout the week.
Yep.
And then so we have this issues list of things that happened the past week, along with things that we didn't get to last week, and now we've added more from the agenda items. So there's oftentimes you get in there, there's an issues list with 20 items in it. And on average, you're going to solve 3 to 7 to 10, kind of like that, 3 to 10 issues every week. So there's going to be carryovers week to week. So when you're in the issues list, this is one place that I want to go a little bit deep because if we're not careful, we become victims to our issues list. What this means is because we pile stuff in there all week, because we allow the agenda to add more items, if we do not take a second to prioritize what's the most important thing we solve for us to predict for the next week of what is the most important thing that we solve over the next week, for the next week ahead, we become victims to just chasing all these system type of Band-Aid fixes.
Yeah. Checking the boxes.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's this moment of like, just chill out. Okay, we have this list of 20 items and just say, what is the most important things that we solved this week? And it may be something that's not even on the list yet. And like, you need to call it out and put it on the list.
Yeah.
And then we prioritize what's 1, 2, and 3, and we start working through them.
Yeah, I think it's actually a bigger issue if there's no issues. I would much rather see a really long list. And I think there's part of it is there's this concept, I think it's a strategic coach idea of open files. And so we all run around with open files in our head, right? And that's what creates stress and anxiety is you've got systems for a lot of different stuff, but you saw something, you witnessed something, and you're just carrying that in your head, or a client asked for something. So you end up with these open files, and that just creates a ton of anxiety, where
Yes.
if all you do is take an open file and create an issue and put it on the list that the right team needs to know about, and you file that there, it's now it's a closed file in a drawer that everyone can see the title on, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's important to name your issues where you remember what it is. But just I encourage our team all week and just constantly put them on the issues list in real time, let it stack up, you know, and then, you know, you'll have some meetings where you have one big one and it takes the bulk of the time. And then you'll have some meetings where it's like, hey, we've prioritized, we're knocking out the right things. And, you know, a solve can just be the most logical next step, right? So it's like we're going through, we're discussing it and we're saying, all right, cool. We don't have to one and done this right now. It's just, Andrew, you've got the logical next step on this set action item. Yeah. So it just keeps that rhythm going.
100%. I think there's a couple of things to talk about here with the issues list. One is how you work through it and how effective we are at the issue solving track and IDS, so identify, discuss, solve. And then there's a second component, which is like the value of the issues list and at scale when compartmentalization, that you have these issues lists depending on the teams that you're in and how those work. So let's stay on the how to actually run an issues list during an L10. And then I think let's go to like at scale and what that looks like. So when you're actually running the issues list with the L10, you do that checkup, you check in, gut check. What do we need to really solve for right now? Then we prioritize 1, 2, 3. There's some tricks here that help us do IDS better. IDS is identify, discuss, solve. We need to identify the root cause issues. A lot of times the root cause issue is a breakdown in one of the 6 key components, right? And so we can use EOS tools to actually solve our issues before we go to discuss and before we go to solve. So there's tee-ups that we need to do. One is when we go to that issue, there's a little trick called who, one sentence, which is who raised the issue. So there's some accountability of raising the issue. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to the whole group or a certain select number in the group? And then one sentence. Can you state the issue clearly in one sentence? Because if we can do that, we're already halfway to the solve.
Yeah.
If we can just be clear with what the issue is. And teams struggle with this because we just sometimes like to raise the flag, but we don't like to put actual mental thought. So it challenges our leaders and our individuals to put a little bit more thought into why you're raising this thing and what it is we're actually trying to solve.
And I take notes. Like if someone's framing their issue, I don't want to interrupt them. I want to go through the journey as they start trying to identify it. But I'll take notes and be like, all right, so you said that's the issue. Here's actually 6 other nested issues that you just threw up. So now let's look at all 6. Is it one of these? Are we dropping the others down? Or are we still don't have clarity on actually what this issue is?
100%. So there's tricks here that I'll say is that on the whiteboard, as you're working through an issue, I would write the issue that you actually are solving. So it may not be what was written on the issues list. As you start to uncover and you identify, write it on the whiteboard.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're working through it and actually there's another one. Write the second one and then write the third one.
So visualize them as
you literally visualize them, and it helps the whole team realize what we're actually doing. And now we have 3 actual issues.
Yeah.
Okay, which one do we want to tackle today?
Yeah.
What's the root cause here? Let's go after that one. And then next to that in the board, I would always have the EOS model, and it's another good thing to have the 5 leadership abilities, because a lot of times it's a breakdown in one of those that we're not upholding one of those.
So that's actually a great idea for me, like over my monitor to do 5 leadership abilities and the 6 key components and just have them up there. So 100%. At any point in time, you look at them.
Because the answer and the solve is usually nested in those.
Yep. Yeah. And so we've embraced something that you taught us because we're hybrid. So we have some people actually in our office and then we have some remote. But even when locally, we have days when we're hybrid. So your rule, which you encouraged us to do, was 1 Zoom, all Zoom.
Yeah.
So 1 remote attendee means everyone's there. So we don't have 3 people in a conference room with a whiteboard and
Mm-hmm.
one person observing in Zoom. So Mark on our leadership team he's remote. So all of our L10s are Zoom.
Yeah.
But I like that idea of the visibility
Mm-hmm.
and and we'll type them in 90. But actually, I like all right. As it's happening, let's capture these other nested issues.
Absolutely. And in 90 doing virtual, you can just you open the issue up.
Yeah.
And there's a description and you just write them in there.
Correct.
So you actually have 3. And then you're asking, what are we, okay, now what are we actually trying to solve? Are these 2 just symptoms of this one? Are these 3 different? Yeah. Okay, let's add a different issue.
Yeah.
And then, so you actually spend appropriate time on the identifying. Then you move to discussion and solve. And discussion really is going around the table on what are potential solves.
Yeah.
So in that same whiteboard or the box, it's really healthy to write what are all our potential solves.
Yeah.
And you're capturing. And then what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And sometimes the solve isn't a complete solve. Sometimes it's this is what we're going to do next.
Yeah, correct.
Or somebody takes it to go get more information. And when that happens, I'm going to go get more information or do some reporting, whatever it is. You close that issue out because now it sits on the to-do list. And then next meeting, you're going to do the to-do. I completed it. Let's open the issue back up,
yep.
Close the to-do and re-add it to the issues list.
And then that, when we talk about what is an issue,
mm-hmm.
An issue can be a problem to solve.
Yep.
It could be an FYI.
Yes.
It could be, I need clarity on something. You guys may understand it and I don't.
Mm-hmm. Those 3 is what I say.
Those are the main 3?
Yeah. And on the clarity, it's really like, I need your input.
Yeah. Need input. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But those are the 3 that I say is really what an issue is. It's an opportunity. It's an issue. It really is kind of our parking lot list. For that
and
team.
I'll do, if I'm doing it during the week, I will actually put FYI I'll title what my intent of the issue is for that. Usually rush before the meeting, think about, I got to get these 3 things in, or I don't always plan it that well. But I do like when the issue's there, we can read them and actually see what the intent is.
100%. And then there's this other thing that you need to be careful about when you're working through the issues list is that you add a to-do, but it's actually a rock. So because you become victim to the issues list where that's important, let's solve this. And then you create a to-do, but this to-do is 4 weeks long. That's a rock. Yes. And you just added more to your plate, which created less focus.
Yeah. Took you off priority of the rocks you already have, which we already defined as the priorities.
Right. Yeah. So we have to be really good about recognizing those items and saying, is that a potential rock for next quarter? And if it is, we need to push it to a long-term issue, which you'll take care of in the quarterly pulsing. And
I also say on the long-term issues list, as well as a long issues list, as part of the discipline in putting them on is realizing that, oh, hey, that wasn't the priority this week. It felt urgent and important when I put it on the list. Yeah. But we haven't gotten to it for 2 or 3 weeks and it worked itself out. Yep. So a lot of times those long-term issues I find, they're urgent right now. We got to make a new rock. No, we can't do that. Let's put it on the thing. And then you get to the end of the quarter and you're looking at the list and you're like, it's not even an issue anymore. 100%. But it was the being aware, seeing it and documenting it was the critical thing. And then the really crazy part about this is if you're running a leadership team and 4 L10s, you have 5 L10s and you do 3 a week, that's 150 a week. That's 750 things 100%. That you bettered in your business just in an L10 in a year. Yeah. Shout out to Design Electric, a team I work with. And they, in their annual state of the company, they did the math over the year of how many rocks the team completed and how many issues were solved. Wow. And I don't even want to butcher the numbers, but I saw that and was like, holy cow. So, and that's how we create focus. That's how we can create traction through traction. I think in the business. I think it was on one of the earlier Inside the 90s with Aaron from Mint Mobile. Yeah. They did their L10s in docs and spreadsheets, but they hit them all. And they were talking about Mike Abercrombie's his implementer, and you could go back and see. I think the number was 3,200 issues that have been solved over their run, which is incredible. It's crazy cool. It's incredible, and that is pun intended, I mean that distraction, right?
Yes.
That's when you just feel that you've got so much momentum and things are clicking.
And we'll always have issues because we're always growing. We're always doing new things. The concern is when the same issues keep showing up. That's a concern because we're not actually solving the root cause issue. But we should expect issues for us to be solving. That's why we're here as a leadership team.
And so going through our issues now.
Yeah.
What's next?
So 5 minutes to close of that meeting. So it's a 90-minute meeting. And say we start at 9, right? So you're going to go to 10:30. So 10:25, you move to conclude no matter where we're at. Now, this is going to be waiting there for us next week, right? You go to conclude. Conclude is 3 things. So first, it's a recap of the to-dos. And it's best practice to individuals recap their to-dos that they took. Because sometimes you're in the middle of solving these items. When I go and regurgitate the to-dos I'm doing, it's like, wait, hold on. Am I doing this or that? And so it's an opportunity for alignment and clarity. From there, we then go to cascading messages. So was there anything that needed to be done or anything that we solved here, decided here that we need to tell other teams? And so there's to-dos taken for cascading that information. And then we go to rating, 1 to 10. How well did we do at this meeting as a team? And
really important point on cascading too. Like in 90, there's a cool feature that an issue comes up and you can kick it over to another L10. And then when you're in that L10 and you look, you see the ones that were cascaded in. So just be in using software to bring visibility to those things that are going across those L10 meetings is really cool.
Absolutely. And so then you go to rating. So when you rate, there's a few things here. Okay. So you go around the table, 1 to 10. How do we do? You're not rating the facilitator of the meeting. You're rating the team in the meeting. How well did we stick to the agenda? How well did we do IDS? How well do we tackle the most important issues? Were we open? Were we honest as a team? Right? Was everybody respectful of each other? That's what we're truly rating. And what it does and why we do that is it negates the situations where 2 team members go to lunch afterwards and they just complain about the meeting.
Yep.
It's like, no, we have this forum discuss to open up and say, what can we do better with our meetings as we move forward?
And then a clarifying debate between Mark Henderson and I is so in 8, right? So all right, so we actually have gotten in a rhythm for the past year where we're doing pretty good scores. I would say we're averaging over an 8.1, somewhere between that, and everyone. I think there's this thing of like, who's going to give a 10, right? And sometimes I'm like, I'm giving a 10 because we crushed it.
Yeah.
But you have to give a reason for your score if you are 8 or under 8.
So I hate this rule because that doesn't matter to me.
But it's the last closing thought.
I know. But this rule came out somewhere, and the rule is that if you are an 8 and or under, okay, you kind of have to give a reason why.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's like it's kind of a silly thing. Because, like, ultimately, we're chasing a 10. And I also think it's silly when perfection's never approachable. Like, I can never give a 10. It's like, come on. Like, what are you talking about here? Like, was the meeting good?
And we did started on time, ended on time. We solved issues. It's a 10.
Like, and we all were open and honest, and we were here as a team, and we're doing our best, and we predicted well last week, and we predicted the right things for the next week. That's a 10. Come on. Like, but if you're going to give it a 6, like, give some context of what's going on and what didn't we do a good job on. And
I think that is, I would say the value in that question or having to give a rationale for it is if someone gave it a 6, then, and you don't ask, then they go to lunch, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about why that meeting sucked.
Yeah.
If they gave it an 8, and then they go and they said, really, it was a 6. I just didn't want to say anything. It's like, all right, now you got a bigger issue.
100%.
Right? You have a culture issue.
Now it's an open and honest issue. It's a trust issue. Yeah. It's a vulnerability trust, right? Like that's, and I think even when people are, if it's an 8, I don't have to. If it's 8, I do. I get concerned about trust, even if we get that detailed.
Yeah.
In general. So it's just something to look at. If that's happening in your team, like there may be a healthy issue there with the team. But that's ultimately the L10. I think we need to keep going. And I think this is like a part 1 and then let's do a part 2.
Yeah.
Because this is just the flow of an L10, but we really need to dig into, okay, as a leadership team, we understand this, we can get our arms around this. But as we start rolling this down and out of, okay, we have a sales L10, we have a marketing L10, we have an operations L10. What about my field team? How do I have an L10 for field team members that are out in the field all the time? Like, how does that work? And then even multiple issues lists and multiple L10s. Like, how do I manage all this? So I think let's kind of close out part 1 of like that flow.
This is the what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's open up.
Yeah.
Like the structural side of it as well.
Cool. Well, this is a very worthy topic. I do think it is one of the most common things is the witnessing of experience or hearing of an L10 meeting. So we'll continue to demystify this and empower people to really walk out with a 10.
100%. And I think to end this one before we jump to part 2 is just like it takes 90 days to get your arms around it and feel like I got it. And just keep the muscle, keep going, keep doing it. And you'll see, you will fight for it if you miss them in the future, if you just keep going. I've been doing L10 meetings for 10 years and I'm still learning stuff and I still see more value and more and more. So
awesome. Well, thank you. Great combo.
Absolutely.